friends, it's Missy again. Thanks for joining me today. I'm here with another layout for Cheeky Studio. I'm one of the February guest designers, and I'm going to be working with the Wildflowers ephemera set. There are a ton of pieces in this little set here. Lots of brightly colored flowers, leaves, stems. Instantly inspired me to create a bright tropical layout. And this cut file, I know you can't really see it, but I went ahead and cut it on some white cardstock. This is an exclusive cut file that you can get in Cheeky Studio. And I just resized the flower. I've got some big ones, some medium ones, and some small ones. And to prep my cardstock, I'm going to coat it with some white gesso here before I peel it off of my cutting mat. I used my Silhouette Cameo. And I'm going to use some Distress Oxides today. And I tried to pick some colors that matched all of the flowers in the ephemera set. And this is a technique I love to do. You really cannot go wrong with it. You let the gesso dry, and then you just turn your ink pads over, smush a little bit of color down, and then get some water on your brush, and then just paint it around. The color does the work for you. I like to mix and match colors. And so my idea for this was to create lots of brightly colored flowers, and then I'm going to work the embellishment flowers around those. So I'm going to use some pinks, some purples, some yellows, some oranges, some blues, and I know it's hard to see the flowers on there, but you'll be able to see them here in a little bit when everything is dry and I peel everything off. But I tend to do this a lot when I want to die cut shapes. And I like to do it right on my cutting mat because it keeps my paper flat and everything is just sort of contained. Now, like I said, I'm trying to mix and match the colors to match the flowers and the leaves. So I've got those scattered out there so I can kind of see what colors I'm dealing with here. Now with the Distress Oxides, they do have a chalky finish and they do tend to dry a little bit lighter. So you'll see here in just a second when everything is dry that they're going to be a little bit lighter than they are now. So the reason that the colors sort of run and blend together so easily on this basic white cardstock is because of the gesso. That's what allows this to happen. So here you can kind of see everything's almost dry, and the paper did warp a little bit. That's natural. It's going to happen, especially if you're just using plain cardstock here, but keeping it on the cutting mat does help a lot. So I wanted to darken up some areas of the flowers, so I pulled out some gelatos from my stash that are going to coordinate well with these colors that I've already got going here, and I'm just kind of scribbling down some color, and again using my brush to soften it up and brush it around. Gelatos are another easy way to get mixed media on a layout in a controlled way, because they're basically like a crayon mixed with lipstick. You just draw it. You can draw as little as you want or as much as you want, add some water, and then you can kind of see there how it spreads around. And I think the gelatos are a good match to, or not match, but a good complement or a companion, whatever the word is I'm looking for here. They go well together with the Distress Oxides here because, you know, the Distress Oxides gave me a base color, and then the gelatos are really good at adding shading. And you could still do this with just the Distress Oxides, but I like to mix and match different things. I like to just kind of pile on different colors and see what different colors you can get. And the red one is definitely bold, so go easy if you have a red gelato. It doesn't take much. And on that flower I'm working on there, you can kind of see those dark spots. That is where I missed some gesso on the background. And you can kind of see the difference of how the paper reacts with the water versus with the gesso versus without the gesso. Yeah, you could do this without gesso, but it's definitely going to get you better results if you do. So here you can kind of see everything is finally dry. I've got some bright ones, some softer ones, but mostly bright because I love bright and I want to match everything up to those wildflower die cuts. So I'm going to very carefully peel everything off the mat, and my mat was not harmed in any of this. So yeah, these are just basic flowers, nothing fancy. But what my thought process was to create multicolored flowers in different sizes so I could stack them and create 3 big layered flowers. And at first I wanted to do multicolored layers for each flower, but then I decided to just go, make one big yellow one, a red one, a blue one, and a pink one. And now I'm just trying to pull out all of the colors that I have that match. And I wanted to trim off the excess white border on some of these flowers just because I didn't want that to stand out as much when I go to put all this together. So I'm just going to take some time and fussy cut around the edges so everything doesn't have such a big white border. And now I'm going to play around with everything. Okay, so I'm going to go with another sheet of white cardstock, and I'm going to use a pool photo. There's a lot of blue in it, so it's going to contrast nicely with all of these other colors. Now some of these flowers have multiple layers, like the blue one has a ton, the pink one only has 2, and that's okay. I could have went back and made a whole nother sheet of die cuts, but I just decided to go with what I had. And I'm going to sort of just layer it like you see here with my photo kind of tucked in. Now I put the blue flower as far away from the photo as I could because of the colors. There's the blue flower and the blue photo don't need to be touching. So I wanted some separation between those two. So that's why I put the blue flower up in the top. And I'm just trying to go tone on tone here and tuck in matching colors to the matching flower. And then I'm going to tuck in some of those black stems because I love the pop of black in this. So I'm going to start to glue everything down, and I want to kind of glue all the stems, all the flowers, all the leaves together so I can kind of move that whole thing as one, just like that. You can kind of see it moving together, because if I take it all apart, I'm never going to get everything back to where I had it, and I like the way it looks. And so when that happens, I just glue it all together as best I can so the whole thing can be moved around. So now this cardstock is not the same cardstock that I used to cut the flowers. This cardstock is thick, white, smooth basil marshmallow. And so it's a little bit sturdier than what I ran through my Cameo. And I'm going to do the same technique here on the background. This time I used clear gesso, and I'm going to come back in with those same Distress Oxide pads, and very lightly, you can see I didn't add a lot of scraping. I didn't scrape it down really hard because you don't need a lot. It's very bold. Sprayed some water on top of it, and instantly your color is going to start bleeding and blending and running. It's so easy to do. I'm using what am I using? That's an acrylic stamping block there that I'm just kind of pressing down and smudging and dragging the colors. It's very, very easy to do, and you don't need a lot of that color. So my idea was to have pink on the background behind the blue flower, and then bring the bluish green color down behind the pink and the red to kind of break up the background colors. And this is where I kind of get nitpicky about things. Sometimes I think it looks too bright, so I just pull in some white gesso to soften it up. I didn't want the background to overpower all of those flowers. Again, I'm going to use my gelatos to make the colors just so. And when I get in the zone creating a background, I can lose so much time. If I were to film a video and let it run in real time, you would be amazed at how long this takes me sometimes. I just get lost in the moment, and I get lost in creating, and I forget that I have a camera filming me, and yeah, I just keep going and going until I get it like I want it. And yeah, so you can kind of see I've got red behind the yellow flower, so I kind of mixed and matched the background. And when I look at it now from here, it's kind of bold. Like, I have to keep smudging at it, and that's where the gelatos come in, and I just use my finger to smudge them. I use my finger, and to me that's the best tool to do smudging of gelatos like this. And it's just a matter of playing around, you know. Everybody has their own techniques and their own ways of doing things, and I think that's great. That's what keeps, that's what keeps this interesting, is everybody does it a little bit differently. And if everybody did it the same way, it would be boring. So some people don't want to get their hands dirty at all. I don't mind. It washes off, I'm cool with it. I'm not a manicure type of girl anyway, so my nails look terrible all the time, and I'm fine with it. I am fine with it, so I don't mind using my hands. Anyway, so you can kind of see what I've got going here. I used some shimmers from my stash to do some splatters, and I'm also going to add some black because there are black stems and leaves in that big cluster that I've got going on, and so I want to echo that on the background. And you can kind of see how the background looks one way without everything back on top of it, but then when I bring all the flowers back, it totally looks different, and I love that. It's kind of like this little magical moment where you put everything back together and it's like, oh, it looks so much better now. So yeah, I love how the photo is going to tuck right in there, and I'm going to add some foam. This is just some fun foam that I get from Walmart. You can also get it at Michael's or any craft store. It's pretty cheap. Here's some buttons I'm going to use. You see how dirty my hands are between paint and gesso and gelatos? That's why my glue bottle stays dirty, because I grab it and my hands have all this stuff on it. Yeah. What can I say? Creating gets your hands dirty. Anyway, buttons from my stash, and I want to finish them off. I pulled out some embroidery thread in each of the colors, and I'm just going to tie a little knot in the back of the button and just kind of fill in the little holes there. I wanted them to have a finished look, and this is just a small minor detail, but I wanted something in the middle of the flowers, and so that's what I'm doing here. I'm going to glue down coordinating colors, and then I'm going to work on the background, gluing it down, because I hadn't glued anything down at this point, so all of that's going to get glued down. And then I didn't want to glue it completely flat. I need to be able to lift it up a little bit to add some thread in there. So I'm going to add in some blue thread. And this is just very subtle. It's just something to add some detail, some texture, some pops of color. What am I using now? Yellow. And sometimes, you know, the thread is just, like I was saying, it's just very subtle. It's not something that's going to overpower anything or take away from the photo or the background, because I never want to do something that's going to take away from my photo. And, you know, because to me, scrapbooking is all about showcasing the photo, and I don't want to do anything that's going to take away from that. So here's where I hadn't even planned on doing this. These are all of the inside pieces that I punched out from the middle of the flowers. And they just look so cute sitting there on my desk. I thought I need to use those. And so you see what I just did. I'm just going to add them to the right of the photo. There's no rhyme or reason to why I did that. I just liked the way they looked and I didn't want to waste them. So, and they already match and coordinate. So they're going to go on the right side of the photo. And I guess they can kind of symbolize, you know, when you're swimming and you blow bubbles. Since it is a pool photo, it could kind of goes. Sometimes I just use things because they look pretty. Now here's the fun part of using a flower die cut like this and stacking them and layering them, is you get to fold up the edges and make it really dimensional and pop it off the page, and I love that. Okay, here are more Cheeky Studio goodies. I've got a couple of cut apart sheets, and this piece says enjoy. I'm going to ruffle up the edges. I don't wind up using it. I couldn't find a spot for it. I tried it in a couple of places. This is another cut apart sheet. This is, it goes with the Wildflowers ephemera. It's just a die cut or a fussy cut sheet where you can cut things out. And I am going to use two of the circles from that. This one says you, and then this one says yay. And I'm going to wind up using both of those in a couple of places. Just not sure where yet. This is the problem I run into with a lot of embellishments when I go to use them at the end of a layout is, where am I going to put them? Because I don't want to overcrowd a certain area. Sometimes I don't want to cover up something. So that is my problem. Now I pulled out some little black stickers from my stash. I think those are, gosh, from Hobby Lobby, from the clearance aisle, but they're small and they're black. And I'm going to use the word you from the die cuts, and then Love Summertime down at the bottom. So You Love Summertime is going to be my title. I'm also going to use two pieces of ephemera that I also received from Cheeky Studio. That one says Every Day. That one says Pool Time, or Poolside, I'm sorry. And then I put the yay right there inside the flowers for some detail. So I kind of like hiding things so they just kind of peek out from behind things. So I'm almost finished. I'm adding my lines with my T-square ruler for my journaling, which I'm going to use a black Sharpie, and then I add the date. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I really enjoyed putting this together. It's fun sometimes to not use any pattern paper. It's fun to fussy cut little things and just go with a cut file and just color it yourself and make it your own. So anyway, I had fun making it. Let me know if you guys have any questions about any of the products or the techniques, anything I forgot to say or mention. A huge thank you to Tuesday Hubbard for inviting me and for creating these gorgeous, gorgeous flowers and all of the die cuts and cut aparts and flair, because everything was adorable and totally inspired me to go all tropical. So anyway, I have a code coming up here at the very end if you want to get 10% off of anything that you order from Cheeky Studio. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.